Hi, my name's Ash and this is Crack Minis, and today I'm going to be having a go at the Big Bot Bash. And what's a Big Bot Bash, you ask? Well, the Big Bot Bash is this thing made by build making stuff. You take this junk bot generator, which is on the back of his Banger in the Gutterlands book, or I think you can download a PDF version on his channel. There's a link somewhere. You roll for the prompts, 6 different ones. I've seen people rolling 6 d20s and it just confuses the hell out of me. Why don't you just roll 1d20 6 times? Those prompts give you a robot that you can build for yourself. My prompts got me big boned cyclopean war machine, and for hands was big un, although I thought it said big gun, so yeah. Wheels and beaten. He did one last year, and this year he's done sort of like an open invitation on his community page. So I was like, oh, I fancy a side quest. I've been doing a lot of stop motion animation at the moment, trying to get the tutorial done for my game, Flipping Tanks. And I'll get into that in a bit if I've got time, but right now, let's focus on this. This episode I wanted to try and break it down to make it easier on myself, because I tend to have a very chaotic style of building, as most of you have seen who have watched my videos before. I tend to just go ham and then see what happens at the end. Keeping that in mind, I started off at the bottom with the legs, and for the legs they call me wheels, so I thought the best way of just showing that off would be to stick a wheel on a base. And there's my legs done. The body was even more simple. I just got big boned, so I just made him chunky and stuck it on the wheel. I did that using a Easter egg that I got from the shops. It's the time of year. Cut off a piece from the bottom, stuck a 25mm base inside it to give me a flat edge, and then connected the wheel to the body using 2 parts of an M. That was laser cut out of MDF. You can usually pick them up in most craft shops, like the full alphabet, not just all M's. Some hubcaps for it, using gems and some shields that I'd lying around in the bit box. Once I'd finished with that, I got to work on the main body, and like I said, I got big boned and I wanted to be chunky, so I need to widen him out using some rubber tyres and some Kinder Egg bits. And then after I've done that, I'm going to go back to the hubcaps, because like I said, I have a very chaotic way of building. I had no idea that I filmed them in this order. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And then back to the main body to stick some geary bits on to thicken it out a bit more, and to add some interesting details, because we don't want it just looking like an egg. Now it's time for some arm action. I'm going to do this by drilling a hole right through the middle where the arms are going, and then threading the wire straight through those holes. Great effort it took to put those through, but I managed it. And then, throw some beads on there. The arms, I got War Machine. I wasn't 100% sure on how to show a War Machine with arms. I think I worked it out, but that doesn't come into effect till after I start putting EVA foam on it, so I'll mention that again then. I was actually quite surprised how hard it was to get the beads onto the wire for the arms, and I was so glad that I got big un instead of hands, which I, with my lovely dyslexia, read as big gun. So I made a big gun, which meant I didn't have to do hands, because hands are hard, like Bill always says, the same as he always says, feet are the hands of the leg. Full of wisdom. But I didn't have to do legs because I got wheels. So let's focus on the big gun. So for the big gun, what I used was a toy cannon. In the end of that toy cannon, I put some EVA foam, then I jammed in a piece of a towel gun, and then got to work trying to connect it to the body. This was a bit of a nightmare. First I drilled a hole in it and tried to slide that onto the wire. That didn't really work for me. So in the end, what I had to do was I pulled the full back piece off with the slider to let the thing shoot out at the end, because originally it had a spring in it. I didn't want to do that. And just attach it to the elbow. This meant that I had to do a redesign on the arms, and that meant rethreading all the beads and just making his stance wider so that the elbow bent more, so that I could get the gun into the position I wanted it to be in for it's attached to the other arm. And because I made the shoulders wider, that meant I had to add shoulder pads just to hide them a bit. Did this with 2 half gears, well, the gear that I cut in half, stick either side, and I got a gem, cut that in half, stick that either side over the top. That hides all those joints. Speaking of hiding joints, now it's time to put on some EVA foam and also hide some of them joints. I've been using it since basically when I started making YouTube videos, and you can use it on anything. And the best thing about EVA foam, as I've said before and I'll say it again, is you can glue it to anything and anything glues to it, for the most part. I mean, sometimes you have to sand things, but you don't have to sand it. So basically it sticks to most things and most things stick to it. Not Okay, I've calmed down now. Because I didn't have hands on this thing, I needed to connect the other arm that wasn't inside the barrel to the barrel. And to do that, I decided I was going to use chains and just wrap it around it. So I'd already hooked it on, obviously, because I put a little metal thing on there, but it needed a way to attach that was also movable, and I figured it's a big robot, and you could probably move chains around if they weren't wrapped too tight. So that's why they're threaded on there. So, while I've got a second, I might as well mention what I was talking about before, right at the beginning of the episode, when I said that I've been doing a lot of stop motion. The reason I've been doing a lot of stop motion is I've made this game and I'm trying to make a tutorial for it. Now, if you want to see what the rules for this game are, I'll leave a link in the description. The reason I've made this game is because I have a 14-year-old stepson who has some disabilities, and I wanted to get him into wargaming like I am. I didn't want to do like Warhammer or anything like that because it's just a bit too much, especially with his attention span. So I've done my best to try and make something that can be picked up and played anytime. Obviously there's a build your own component to it, where you can build your own tank, but also what works is like a chimera from like the guard or something like that. So if you have a tank from Warhammer, all you need to do is pretend there are 3 guns on the side of it and you can play the game, because that's what sort of scale I've made it to. And if you're interested and you get a chance, just have a look at the link in the description. Tell me what you think. Talked for a little bit too long then and missed a bit that I wanted to tell you about the artillery rounds on the arms, because I couldn't think of how to make it a war machine, and that was the only thing I could think to do, stick some bullets on it. Now it's time to talk about the head. Hey. So, for the head I got Cyclopean, didn't I? I couldn't really think of how to do Cyclopean. Then I just realised that if I give it one eye, it was a Cyclops. Doesn't matter if it's got a hole where the other eye should be, as long as it's got one eye. And that's what I did. I carved a little hole out of the bead that I was using for the head. And then when I went to attach it to the body, I realised it needed a helmet. So I got a bunch of these Tamiya helmets I'm going to be using on a few other builds, especially when it comes to robots, because I have this faction in this world that I've built called the Robo Rebels. Try to say that properly. The Robo Rebels are these like crazy robots that I've made that think they're soldiers, and they think they're at war with human race and other races that are on this planet. So like I said, as I was putting the helmet on him, I realised after my second attempt with a different helmet that the head was on the wrong way around. So that's what I did. I popped the head off, flipped it around, stuck it back on, then the helmet went on, perfect. And once that helmet was in place, I stuck an eye on it, and then after the eye I got started sticking gemstones on there. I wanted to fill in as much of the blank spaces as I could without having to over bead the thing, you know, when I put too many rivets on it, because at the moment I'm putting rivets on everything and it's just getting a bit much. It's just always rivets, just rivets everywhere. I've got so many different types. I dream about them. Anyway, this is where I realised that the arm had some play in it, so I was just jiggling it about. I'm still jiggling it about. Whee! That wasn't a stray mouse that you could hear then. That's me playing with the actual model. I don't have any live mice in this room. Or dead ones, obviously. I want to apologise for the flashing lights. The police weren't outside my house. I literally had a fault in the lighting. I fixed it as quick as I realised, which was after I fitted all the rivets on, and I just unplugged it from the wall and then ripped it off and threw it away. And it doesn't look as bad on the screen as it did in real life. It was very bright. Anyways, I think I'm almost ready for painting now. Let's go. Okay, so time for the painting, and I kept it real simple. For this I only used 5 paints, other than the black, of course, which is the base colour. I used white, trench mud, which is brown, succulent green, which is obviously a green, viscera red, which is obviously a red, and gunmetal, which you've just seen on the screen. Along with rune fang steel, because I needed a slightly shinier silver, and I don't like mixing white with me metallics because they don't look right. I was going to show all those paints on the screen, but obviously I forgot, because I always forget. And yeah, I really like using this TTcombat stuff. It mixes well with other paints as well. It's brilliant. Anyway, I should probably come up with a story for this guy for you. It's normally what I do. And yeah, let's come up with a story. So I mentioned before that I'm building this world, and in this world there's this faction called the Robo Rebels. Well, this guy, he's a lance bombardier, which means he's in charge of a group of gunners. Because I wanted to split up my army into sections like, so I want melee troops and artillery troops and, you know, tank troops and things like that. So I thought I might as well give them actual proper insignia. It's a little bit of flavour and it looks quite good on the model. Originally this guy was, like most of my other Robo Rebels, a manual labour bot. Now, a long time ago, outside of 414, they were building this highway. Problem was, this highway was supposed to go through a very rocky area. Now, this wouldn't normally be a problem. They'd get someone like Shadrach the Hammer to go in, smash up the rocks, and that'd be it. But the problem was, these rocks were full of natives. Now, because the natives are so dangerous on this planet, it's better to deal with them from a distance. So they get themselves a special robot. A big scary robot with a big scary gun. Obviously he's of no danger to the human beings. But given orders, he'll launch anything with his big gun. That's what he does. He bombards the area, basically turning all those stones to gravel. And once he's finished, the line moves forwards and the highway continues. And he sees what he's done. And the AI inside his mind breaks. He decides he doesn't want to serve the humans anymore. He decides he doesn't want to do any of that anymore. And he hears about the Robot Rebellion. And he joins them. I think I'm going to call him the Rolling Thunder. That's a cool name. Rolling Thunder. Anyway, that's about it for the story. I hope you enjoyed that. I know there wasn't a lot of it, but kind of held up for time at the end. I had so much. I feel like this is the first tutorial where I've actually spoke about what I've made and not just waffled. I had a lot of fun building this. It was really fun just to have a go at something a bit different. That chunk block generator is just a fantastic idea. Even with my haphazard style, a very chaotic build, the way I chaotically build everything. It's definitely worth having a go if you get the opportunity. Just build something. It's always fun just to build something. But yeah, definitely helped me work out how I want the Robo Rebels to look in the future. Oh, and before I go, I need to say this one last time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you are subscribed, thank you. And if you get a chance, check out that game. Tell me how you think. And I'll see you next time.